demonstration of a 2026 Fed interest rate forecast using a confluence of agentic AI, like agent-based AI inference, econometrics, and simulation to run an estimate on how many interest rates there's going to be in 2026 and what the rate may come down to based on various pathways. So right off the bat, the most likely outcome per the confluence of the modeling, the simulation, and agent inference is 1 to 2 rate cuts in 2026. And this is based on the Fed dot plot from September 2025, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Polymarket data. So the Fed Reserve estimate is at 1 cut, right, based on the dot plot. Goldman is 1 to 2 cuts based on their economic research. So 1 cut, but if there's a recession, it could be 2 to 3 cuts per Goldman, and their estimate of a recession is 30 to 40%, and JP Morgan's 1 to 3 cuts, trajectory dependent. Their estimation of recession is 40%, so they're leaning actually towards 3. And Polymarket has put out estimates, but that's still to be determined. So what does this look like on the various pathways, right? So if you have a soft landing, there's not going to be any cuts, especially after the December cut. If there is a Fed consensus, there'd be 1 cut. If there's a slowdown, there'd be 2 cuts. And if there's a recession, there could be up to 4 cuts. So going to the custom forecast, we take into account some of the traditional model, the Taylor's rule model for the interest rates, the Phillips curve, the famous yield curve, financial conditions, and historical Fed. And then here we set the core PCE inflation, labor market unemployment, job growth monthly, financial conditions, and 10 to 12 year yield spread as an example. And then so we'll run the forecast, and then the forecast shows that we'll looking like 1 to 2 cuts in 2026, with the end 2026 rate between 3.125% and 3.3%. And we could see kind of the breakdown on how it's getting estimated. So if there's a recession, you could have up to 4. If there's a Fed consensus, you could have 1. If there's a slowdown, you could have 2, right? So the Taylor rule prescribes that there could be 2 cuts from the current position. The Phillips yield curve analysis shows it suggests 1 cut. Yield curve implying 1 cut. Financial conditions suggest perhaps neutral. And then Fed behavior predicts 1 cut given these conditions. We could also look at various scenario analyses. So Fed consensus, this is what it would look like off of 1 cut, right? And then if we run it to a growth slowdown, you could have up to 2 cuts, right? So if there's Fed action, 25 basis point cut likely in Q2, Q4, responding to labor market deterioration, right? If there's a growth slowdown with inflation elevated at 2.8% and weak growth. So anyway, that's the consensus and the forecast. 1 to 2 rate cuts. I would lean towards 2, given what seems to be a slight slowdown in the economy. But there it is. That is the estimate based on this experiment. Thank you.